Hi there. My name's Rosalind. I was sick, fever burning, barely standing, when my own sister kicked me out of the house. My daughter was locked inside. My parents? They took her side. They said I was dramatic, that I needed space. But behind closed doors, they stole more than that. They stripped my name off the mortgage, spread lies in the neighborhood, even tried to stop me from taking my child to the ER. And when I finally cut off the money, the water, the power, that's when they started screaming. It started with a shiver I couldn't shake, the kind that settles deep in your bones and whispers that something worse is coming. I'd pushed through work that day, half asleep, aching and foggy-headed, telling myself that if I just got home, I could finally rest. Home. What a joke that word had become. The moment I stepped through the door, the smell of lavender candles and the sight of pastel baby gear slapped me in the face. Diaper bags, yoga balls, maternity pillows. Darlene's kingdom now stretched from the kitchen to the living room. My spot on the couch was buried under her robes and unopened Amazon boxes. I didn't say anything. I couldn't. My throat was raw from coughing and my head pounded like a broken metronome. Lorraine, my mother, though she rarely felt like one, looked up from her magazine. "Oh, good, you're back," she said casually, like I hadn't just spent the whole day pretending not to collapse at my desk. "Darlene's been resting, so keep your voice down." "I'm not saying anything," I rasped, hanging my coat by the stairs. She glanced at me like I was something sticky on the bottom of her shoe. "You still look sick. You should sleep in the basement tonight. It's cooler down there. Better for fevers." I blinked at her, trying to find the part of that sentence that made any sense. "The basement? You're young. You'll bounce back," she added, waving her hand dismissively. Darlene didn't even look up from her phone. She was nestled in the recliner, one hand on her round belly like she was cradling a crown jewel. I swallowed everything I wanted to scream. Mina was already upstairs asleep. I had to stay quiet. For her. That night, I curled up on an old futon in the basement, wrapped in a scratchy blanket that smelled like mildew. I didn't sleep much. The chill crept into my skin, and I coughed until my ribs throbbed. The only warmth I had came from the thought that maybe, just maybe, tomorrow would be better. It wasn't. I'd barely opened my eyes when I heard Darlene stomping down the stairs. "Are you serious right now?" she shouted. "Do you not care that I'm pregnant? You're up here coughing like a diseased raccoon." I sat up slowly, head spinning. I stayed in the basement, like Mom asked. "You were still breathing through the vents!" she barked. I was too stunned to respond. That's when Lorraine walked in, holding a black trash bag. "Just go for a few days, Rosalind," she said calmly, like she was offering me tea. "Clear your head. Let Darlene relax." "Mom, I'm sick." "You'll feel better in fresh air. You've always been dramatic when you're under the weather." Darlene planted herself in the hallway, blocking the stairs like some deranged bouncer. "Don't make this a scene. Just go." I looked at her, then at Lorraine. My voice was a whisper. "Where's Mina?" "She's brushing her teeth," Lorraine replied without looking me in the eye. "She'll be fine." I hesitated. I had no idea what was real anymore. Still wearing my pajama pants and hoodie, I slipped into my shoes, grabbed the trash bag, and walked out the front door. The cold hit me immediately, sharp and cruel. I turned around to see if Mina was behind me. She wasn't. I rushed back to the door and yanked the handle. Locked. I pounded once, twice. "Mom, Mina's still inside." No answer. I ran to the window and cupped my hands around my eyes. Upstairs, the curtain moved. A small face peered out. Confused, sleepy. Her little hand pressed against the glass. "Mina, baby, it's okay," I said, trying to sound calm. "Tell Grandma to let Mommy in." I heard movement behind the door. Then a sliver opened. Lorraine's face appeared, stiff as stone. "We can't have chaos right now. She's fine. Go rest somewhere else." The door clicked shut before I could protest. I stood there, shaking, sick and alone on my own porch. My child was inside. I was outside. That night, I curled into the backseat of my car, parked right there in the driveway like a ghost haunting her own home. My coat barely covered my knees, and every breath came out like steam. My lungs burned. The world outside was silent, but the scream inside my chest refused to die. The porch light was still on. They left it glowing, probably to make the house look welcoming in case a neighbor passed by. A few did. I saw them glance over as they walked their dogs or drove home. No one stopped. Lorraine had already told them I was taking space. I called in sick to work, voice hoarse, trying to sound upbeat. "Just a little flu," I said, forcing a chuckle. "I'll be fine." I texted Lorraine once, just once. "Can I see Mina? Just for a minute?" No response. I hadn't moved much since dawn. The cold from the night had settled into my muscles, and even though the sky was a pale, clear blue now, it still felt like winter had taken root inside my bones. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat beside a granola bar I hadn't touched. It was from Lorraine. "We need to talk. Meet me at the gas station on Main at 11. No punctuation. Just that flat, transactional tone she used whenever she wanted something. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But another part, the part that still stupidly clung to hope, wondered if maybe, just maybe, this was her trying to make things right. Maybe she'd let me see Mina. By the time I got there, she was already waiting by the air pump in her navy coat, standing like she didn't want to be recognized. That alone should have tipped me off. I parked, stepped out, my throat still sore, my back stiff from sleeping curled in my car. "Is everything okay?" I asked. She barely looked up. "I talked to Darlene. She's still shaken." I waited. "She's pregnant, Rosalind. You can't expect her to deal with stress like this." She glanced at me, her voice cooling. "But I was thinking, you still make more than her, right?" I blinked. "What?" "She's not working. You're still getting that accountant's salary." "Lorraine, Mom, I'm not even in the house." She gave a soft sigh like she was the one burdened. "It's not about where you're staying. It's about responsibility, family." That word, family, like she hadn't locked me out 2 nights ago and pretended her granddaughter's cries didn't exist. "You're asking me to send money?" I asked, stunned. Her lips curled slightly, the way they always did when she was about to say something that sounded noble, but was anything but. "Think of it as maintaining stability. For Darlene. For Mina." I took a step back. "You didn't even let me say goodnight to my daughter." "Rosalind," she said sharply, "don't be selfish. You're making things harder than they have to be." She walked off like that was the end of it. Just another errand done. Later that afternoon, I stopped by the neighborhood drugstore, not even sure why. I wandered the aisles like a ghost until I picked up a small, spiral-bound notebook and a cheap pen. I needed to write, not for revenge, not for court, just to keep track. Because lately I was starting to believe their version of things more than my own. I needed proof that I wasn't crazy. As I stood in line, I overheard 2 women talking near the pharmacy window. "I heard she got fired. Can't hold a job." Poor Lorraine, taking care of everything while Rosalind just spirals. I didn't turn around, didn't flinch. I just paid and walked out into the wind. By the time I got back to the car, my hands were trembling, not from the cold, but from something deeper. Shame, maybe? Or fury? I opened the notebook and wrote the first entry. Day 3. Locked out. Told I'm making things up. Asked to send money. Rumors I lost my job. I closed the cover slowly. My name was being dragged through the mud, and I hadn't even opened my mouth. I thought about when I was 16. Darlene had just failed her driving test for the 2nd time. Our parents still gave her a brand new phone for trying hard. I cleaned the dishes that night while she live-streamed with her friends. No one even said thank you. Nothing had changed. That evening, a coworker at the firm texted, "Everything okay? You've looked drained lately." I stared at the screen. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I almost told her about the porch, about Mina, about Lorraine's little public relations campaign. Instead, I typed, "Just life." That was enough. I didn't owe anyone the whole story, not yet. Later that night, I started browsing apartment listings near Mina's school. Nothing fancy, just clean and quiet. I bookmarked a few. A storm was on the forecast for next week, and I wasn't sure if my car could take another frozen night. But I could. Somehow. The morning after I sent in those apartment applications, the silence came back louder than ever. No missed calls. No, "How are you?" Not even a photo of Mina from Lorraine like she used to send when she wanted to bait me into playing along. Just absence. clean and sharp. I stared at my phone long enough for the screen to dim, then darken completely. There was nothing to reply to anyway. I could have sent another text, but silence, I was learning, was not a pause. It was a message. Later that afternoon, I drove past the old street. Not to see them, just to be near it. My fingers gripped the wheel tighter as I turned the corner, where the same red pickup sat parked outside the house. Dad's, still unmoved. I used to think of him as the quiet one, the peacemaker. He wasn't cruel like Lorraine or venomous like Darlene. He just didn't engage. But that was never neutrality. That was consent with a softer coat. Growing up, anytime Darlene broke a vase or skipped school, he'd sigh and mutter something about not rocking the boat. Lorraine would twist the story into a noble sacrifice, and Virgil? He'd nod. Sometimes he'd walk away. I mistook that for kindness, but the absence of harm isn't the same as love. He let her run everything. His silence was armor, for himself, not for us. That realization cracked something in me. Not a break, just a shift, like bones realigning after years of bad posture. I had brought a small box with me, Mina's old toys she no longer played with. I thought maybe if I left them by the porch, it would show I wasn't trying to escalate anything. Just a gesture. Something soft. I stepped out, glanced around. No one was outside. The wind was dry, biting against my skin. I placed the box on the steps, about to turn back to the car, when I heard Lorraine's voice through the kitchen window. She was on the phone, loud enough to carry through the thin pain, too distracted to notice I was feet away. No, Darlene was always the one with potential, she said flatly. Rosalind was, I don't know, what's the word, an accident. She laughed, a short dismissive sound. She's lucky we even let her stay as long as we did. I didn't move. My feet were locked in place. Not from surprise, not anymore. It was the confirmation, the kind that cuts deeper than the original wound. No tears, not then, just a kind of internal freezing that made my fingers burn. I walked back to the car, leaving the box right where it was. I couldn't bring myself to take it. I didn't want anything that belonged there touching me anymore. Back inside the car, I stared at the passenger seat. Mina had drawn something the day before. Her new house, she'd said proudly. It was a crooked box with 2 stick figures, one big, one little. That was it. No porch, no yard, no dog, just us. That night, I didn't wait for signs or apologies. I opened my laptop and applied for 3 more apartments, farther out but closer to Mina's school. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to fix anything. I wasn't trying to be understood. I was just choosing myself. It was never just what they did. It was what they allowed to happen in silence. The first bill I canceled wasn't electric or water. It was the mortgage. It came through as a soft ping on my phone, a reminder from the bank that my auto payment was scheduled in 3 days. I stared at it for a few seconds, thumb hovering over the screen. Then I opened the app, navigated to the payment section, and hit Cancel. I removed my account from the autopay settings and closed the app. A sharp calm settled in my chest. No fear, no regret. I typed a short message and sent it to Lorraine's phone. You wanted me out. Now the finances follow. I didn't wait for a reply. The next 2 days passed in quiet. Mina and I were settling into the little apartment I'd rented. It wasn't fancy. Just 1 bedroom, beige carpet, and a drafty window that whistled every time the wind picked up. But it was ours. The rent wasn't cheap, but for once I didn't have to justify every dollar. Then the real chaos began. Late Friday night, my phone buzzed. The screen lit up with Darlene's name. I let it go to voicemail. 5 seconds later, another call. Then another. Then Lorraine. I muted them all. But the 6th time, curiosity won. I picked up, voice flat. What? Darlene's voice cracked like a whip. You shut off the power? I'm pregnant, Rosalind. What the hell is wrong with you? I didn't flinch. I stopped paying for what I no longer live in. You'll need to cover your own utilities now. You're trying to kill me and my baby. I almost laughed. I kept the lights on for 2 weeks after being thrown out. You chose this. Click. That night, the voicemails rolled in like a storm surge. Lorraine sobbing, trying to sound wounded. Rosie, please. It's not right to do this to your sister. Think of the baby. You've always been stronger than her. Be the bigger person. Funny how my strength only mattered when it benefited them. She never said she was sorry. Not once. The next morning, I woke up to silence. No missed calls, no texts, no new messages. Just the low hum of the space heater in my room, and Mina humming to herself while drawing at the kitchen table. She'd started making to-do lists for our future home. 1, pink curtains 2, big bathtub 3, snack drawer that's only for me and Mom. That Saturday, we walked to the grocery store. It was cold, but she insisted on wearing her little dinosaur hoodie. We stopped for hot cocoa at a corner cafe and split a blueberry muffin. She didn't ask about Grandma or Aunt Darlene, and I didn't bring them up. As we headed home, I realized something had shifted. I wasn't angry anymore. Not actively. I was tired, but in a clean, quiet way, like the body finally resting after carrying too much. That night, as I sorted mail and receipts, a message popped up on my phone. Darlene, you'll regret this. That was it. No greeting, no signature, no attempt at softness. I stared at it, then took a screenshot and uploaded it to a folder titled Documentation Family. I'd already started tracking things, just in case. On Monday, during my lunch break, I visited a small law firm near downtown. The consultation was free, and I didn't need much, just someone to tell me what my rights were and what to expect if Darlene escalated. The lawyer was sharp and kind. She didn't pity me. She listened, asked questions, and gave me options. When I stepped back out into the wind, I zipped up my coat and exhaled. I wasn't afraid of the next storm. I'd walked through it barefoot once. This time, I carried my own umbrella. There are moments in life when silence is strategy, but then come the moments when silence is surrender, and I was done surrendering. It started with an envelope. Ordinary, except the seal had been torn and resealed with clear tape. A forwarded bank statement, addressed to my new apartment, clearly tampered with. I sat at my desk at work, staring at it for a full minute before pulling up the camera footage. I'd installed a small security cam near my mailbox when I moved in, just in case, just like the lawyer had advised. The footage loaded, blurry at first. But then, there she was, Darlene, clear as day, using a key to open my mailbox. Her hoodie was pulled low, but I knew that posture, that smug little head tilt she always gave herself when she thought no one was watching. I exhaled slowly, paused the video, and saved the clip in the legal folder I'd created on my desktop. By lunch, I'd drafted the email. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't curse. I just told the truth, line by line. Attached were screenshots, flirty messages between Darlene and a man named Caleb, dating back 6 months. One text in particular, I wish I could say it's yours, but I honestly don't know anymore. Another, we should have been more careful. Lorraine is going to kill me if she finds out. I also attached the voice memo, an accidental recording from weeks ago, when Lorraine didn't realize her call with me was still connected. Her voice was faint, but clear enough. I don't even know who the father is, but if she plays it right, we might still get some help. The recipients of the email, Lorraine, Virgil, Darlene's ex-husband's lawyer, and our cousin Mayra, who always had a foot in both camps and a big mouth. Subject line, you wanted truth. No greetings, no explanation. I clicked send. By 3 p.m., the hurricane landed. Darlene showed up in the parking lot of my office like a scene out of a reality show. Hair a mess, eyes wild. She screamed across the lot, hands flailing like she was auditioning for a part in some cheap drama. You think you're so righteous? You're a bitter, lonely hag. You'll die alone and still blame me for it. People stopped to watch. My manager peeked through the window blinds. I didn't go outside. I called security and calmly described the woman outside as a domestic issue. I told them I was concerned for my safety and that she was not to be let into the building under any circumstance. Later that evening, I played back the voicemails. Lorraine's voice, weepy and manipulative. You didn't have to take it this far. Family keeps things in the family. Family, that word again. Weaponized, twisted, thrown like a rope I was expected to tie around my own neck. I saved the voicemails too. The next morning, I filed a formal complaint with the post office about mail theft. The clerk gave me a pamphlet and told me to follow up with the local police station. Then I headed to the courthouse. A free legal clinic was hosting a drop-in day for civil issues. A paralegal walked me through paperwork for a cease and desist. "Would you like to press charges?" she asked gently. "Not yet," I said, "but I want this on record." She nodded. Smart move. When I stepped out of the courthouse, my shoes clicked loud on the concrete. I walked taller, head higher. I wasn't the whisper in the hallway anymore. I was the alarm. That night, Mina came home with a crumpled piece of construction paper. "Look, Mommy!" It was a drawing of a superhero. Purple cape, black boots, flames in the background. She'd scribbled my name, well, her version of it, across the top in bright pink crayon. "Is this me?" I asked, trying not to laugh. She nodded with a grin. "You're the strongest." I didn't correct her. I didn't say I wasn't a hero. I just hugged her and whispered, "Close enough." 3 days had passed since I filed the cease and desist. I hadn't heard a word back from Darlene or Lorraine. I knew better than to think that meant peace. It just meant the wind had shifted, and storms are always quiet before they rip everything apart. I was sipping coffee in my apartment, half reading a report for work, when the first blow landed. I got tagged in a Facebook post. The caption screamed in all caps, "Some people pretend to be victims after abandoning their own family." I was 8 months pregnant and homeless because of her. A photo of Darlene crying, belly pushed forward like a stage prop. The lighting dramatic, like she was auditioning for sympathy. The comments came fast. "She did what? Disgusting. Who does that to their pregnant sister? You're stronger than me, girl. Keep your head up." And the worst of all, Lorraine, chiming in like it was Sunday brunch gossip. "Sometimes daughters forget where they came from." I wasn't shocked, not anymore. But it still stung, like an old burn being scratched open. I didn't reply. Not yet. I screenshotted every word and saved it. I was going to need it. That afternoon, I picked up Mina from school like usual. She came out of the building slower than usual, her little backpack dragging behind her. "Hey, baby, you okay?" She didn't answer, just climbed into the car and fastened her seatbelt. It wasn't until we got home that she burst into tears. "She came to school," she sobbed. "She said if you don't stop being mean, they're going to come and take me away." Who said that? I already knew, but I asked anyway. "Auntie Darlene. She was by the fence. Miss Ray saw her and told her to leave." I called the school immediately. Miss Ray confirmed everything. Darlene had shown up unannounced at dismissal and tried to speak to Mina, even after being asked to leave the premises. That night, I didn't sleep. I called my lawyer first thing the next morning. "We're filing for a protective order," I said flatly. "She came after my daughter. That's the line." "Understood," she replied, not missing a beat. "Gather every piece of communication. I'll draft the emergency filing today." I emailed the school for a written statement, saved the audio of Mina crying, her voice shaking as she described what Darlene had said. I added screenshots from the Facebook post, Lorraine's comment included. This wasn't family drama anymore. This was harassment. Later that night, after Mina had gone to bed, I logged on to Facebook. My hand shook slightly, not from fear, but because I knew that this was it. The moment I stopped playing defense, I typed slowly, deliberately. "I don't use this platform to argue, but I will use it to protect my daughter. Any future lies, threats, or attempts to intimidate me or my child will be handled through legal means. This is not a threat, it's a boundary. No hashtags, no dramatics, no names, just facts." I hit post. My inbox filled within the hour. Messages from high school friends, coworkers, distant cousins. Honestly, I always suspected something was off with Darlene. "I've seen how your mom talks about you. It's not okay. Good for you for standing up." Support I never asked for, but for the first time I didn't reject it. I let it in. The next day I took Mina to school myself, walked her in, made eye contact with every adult in that building so they'd know, this child is protected. This mother is not afraid. Back home, I opened the email from my lawyer. The subject line read, "Protective order filing draft attached." I didn't open it yet. I just stared at the subject for a while, not because I was unsure, but because I was proud. Because when they tried to paint me as unstable, ungrateful, unworthy, What they didn't count on was that I was watching, documenting, building my case while they built their lies. They were loud, but I was thorough. And this time, I wasn't backing down. It was a Thursday when the envelope arrived. I'd just gotten back from picking Mina up from school. She was humming some Disney song and kicking her shoes off at the door when I noticed the thick white packet tucked among the junk mail on the counter. My name in small impersonal print. No return address. I opened it slowly. Legal papers. I recognized the format instantly. Property title transfer confirmation. I flipped through the pages, reading in disbelief. The house. The one I had spent years contributing to. Mortgage payments, upkeep, repairs while everyone else made excuses. It had been signed over. To Darlene. No notice, no discussion, just done. Stapled to the back was a typed note from Lorraine. She's having a baby. She needs stability. It's not personal. Not personal? I stared at the wall for a long time. Mina had turned the TV on and was watching cartoons. I couldn't even focus on the sound. My ears were ringing. I wasn't just erased. I was replaced. I closed the envelope and placed it gently in the drawer under the sink, like I didn't want to give it the dignity of my rage. That night, I set my alarm for early morning. I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. Instead, I made a list. Things I needed to finish, finalize, shut down. I needed control of something, even if it was just my to-do list. But the universe had other plans. It was around 2:30 a.m. when I heard a sharp gasp from Mina's room. Then a cry. I ran in. She was curled in a ball, clutching her stomach, her forehead damp with sweat. "It hurts, Mommy," she sobbed. "It really hurts." I threw on a jacket over my pajamas, grabbed my keys and wallet, and scooped her into my arms. We made it to the front door, and that's when I saw her. Darlene, standing at the base of the stairs, arms folded like she belonged there. Her belly looked bigger than ever under her hoodie. "You're not taking her anywhere until we talk," she said. I blinked. "What?" "You heard me," she snapped. "You've been spreading lies and now you think you can just run away with her? She's in pain. Move." I said we need to talk. I didn't let her finish. I stepped forward, shielding Mina in my arms, and shoved Darlene aside with my shoulder. She stumbled back, caught herself on the railing. "Don't you touch me!" she shrieked. "Then don't block a mother trying to get her child to the hospital," I shot back. Mina whimpered against my chest. I could feel her shaking. A neighbor opened their window across the lot. Someone called out, "Everything okay?" "No," I answered, breathless. "Call the police." And then I was moving, running, unlocking the car, settling Mina in the back seat, heart thudding so hard it felt like my ribs were about to snap. Red and blue lights arrived minutes later, washing over the complex like a warning flare. Darlene was yelling something about being assaulted. I didn't respond. I just handed the officer my ID and pointed at Mina, who was now pale and quiet in the back seat. "She needs help," I said. "That's all that matters." One officer took Darlene aside. Another waved me forward. "Follow the ambulance," he said. We arrived at the hospital just before 4 a.m. appendicitis, emergency surgery. The doctor said if we'd waited another hour, it could have ruptured. I sat beside her hospital bed as machines beeped and monitors blinked. She was asleep, finally calm, her tiny hand wrapped around two of my fingers. Later that night, after the surgeon checked in and the nurse changed her IV, one of them lingered at the door. "She asked about her aunt," the nurse said gently. "She wanted to know if she was coming back." I didn't flinch. "No," I said. "Not anymore." The nurse nodded slowly and left us alone. I leaned back in the chair, exhausted. But more than that, done. They'd taken the house. They'd lied, manipulated, twisted my every move. And now they'd tried to stand between me and my child's health? That wasn't just betrayal. That was dangerous. Whatever came next, they could spin their stories and play victim all they wanted. But this time, I had police reports, hospital records, and a child's trust in her mother that no one, no paper, no signature, could take away. The first light of morning slipped through the blinds, casting faint stripes across the floor. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, its vibration low but insistent. I hesitated before reaching for it, still groggy. I wasn't expecting anything, certainly not from that app. It was the mortgage portal, The one I hadn't touched in over a year. The same portal that once kept me up at night, calculating balances, checking payment dates, rereading statements, second-guessing everything. Since the day I signed away my part of the house, washed my hands of that cold, joyless structure, I had left it behind. Or so I thought. Curious more than anything, I tapped the notification. The app opened slowly, like it knew what it was about to reveal. And there it was, in bold red. Final notice, foreclosure initiated. Past due balance, auction scheduled, legal action pending. I stared at it for a long moment. No panic, no guilt. Just stillness. Then, I pressed delete. Let them handle it. Let them sort through the wreckage of what they fought so hard to control. That house had never been a home. Not for me. Not for anyone who wasn't willing to bend and break to fit into its pristine mold. They had obsessed over appearances, over discipline, over power. And now, they could own the collapse too. I turned over and looked at Mina, still wrapped up in her blanket, her face soft in sleep. Her tiny chest rose and fell in that slow, steady rhythm only children have. She was everything the house had never been. Warm, alive, safe. She was home. Later that day, after dropping Mina off at daycare, I found myself reaching for the bananas on the counter. They were just ripe enough. I didn't want banana bread. I wasn't even hungry. But I needed the motion, the routine, peel, mash, mix, the way the batter came together slowly with each stir. The warmth that spread through the apartment as it baked. It felt good to create something that wasn't for survival or appearance, but for comfort, for calm. When the timer went off, I didn't even eat a slice. I just stood there, breathing in the scent of cinnamon and vanilla and toasted sugar. My apartment smelled like life. Not the museum silence of the house I grew up in, with its designer furniture and rules about coasters, but real life. Imperfect and alive. Then the phone rang again, a number I didn't recognize. Out of state. I paused, thumb hovering over the screen. Something in me knew. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later the transcript began to load, but I didn't wait. I played the message. Her voice hit me like a brick. "Rosie, it's me, it's Darlene." She was crying. Not the performative kind I remembered from childhood tantrums or teen drama. This was real, raw. "I'm at the hospital. They said it's early, but it's happening. I can't reach Virgil, and Mom's not answering. I didn't know who else to call." She took a breath, shaky and shallow. "I know I don't deserve it, but I'm scared, Rosie. I don't know what to do. I need someone, please." There was a time when that would have shattered me, when her voice, full of fear, would have pulled me right back in, would have made me forget the way she gaslit me, betrayed me, turned the family against me, how she made my pain a punchline. But that time had passed. I pressed delete. Not out of revenge, not out of anger, just necessity. There was no victory in it, no satisfaction, just space, silence, and for the first time in a long time, a kind of peace. The next morning, I had an appointment at the hospital, unrelated to Darlene. I wasn't there to check on her or offer support. I went to the administration desk to request a permanent update to my family contact records. I had already taken my name off all emergency contact lists months ago, but this time, I wanted written confirmation. I wasn't going to be summoned back into the chaos through some clerical oversight. The receptionist looked up from her computer and asked, "Would you like to designate a new next of kin for Miss Darlene R.?" I met her gaze without flinching. "No. And if she lists me again, I will treat it as a violation of my personal and legal boundaries." She blinked, then nodded slowly. "Understood, ma'am." Outside, the wind had picked up, tugging at the hem of my coat. I exhaled as I walked to the car, the cold air sharp but clean. I picked up Mina from daycare a little early, just because. She ran out with a crown made of glittered construction paper and a popsicle stick glued to the front. "Mommy!" she shouted, grinning. "I'm a sparkle queen!" I scooped her up. "That's the most powerful kind. Can we make cookies tonight?" "Absolutely." On the way home, she got quiet for a while, her fingers tracing the window. Then softly, "Is Aunt Darlene gonna die?" The question caught me off guard. My hands tightened on the wheel. I didn't pull over, though I wanted to. She's at the hospital, I said carefully. She'll be taken care of. Just not by us. Mina nodded once. Okay. That night, we made chocolate chip cookies. Burned the first tray because we were dancing too much. I wore a dish towel cape, and she wore my sweatshirt like a gown. Super Mama! She shouted between giggles. I couldn't remember the last time I laughed like that. After her bath, I tucked her in. She looked up at me, eyes half closed, and whispered, I'm glad it's just us now. My heart twisted, but in a way that felt honest. Me too, baby, I said, brushing hair from her forehead. Later, I lay in bed, wide awake but calm. No missed calls, no guilt-tripping messages, no news from Lorraine, just stillness. And in that quiet, something I hadn't felt in years bloomed inside me. Not pride, not triumph, just space, just breath, freedom. The mail came late that day. Mina was already fast asleep, her face soft in the glow of her nightlight, a smudge of chocolate still clinging to her cheek from the cupcake she'd begged to eat before dinner. I had wiped her hands, combed her hair back, read her favorite book twice, but somehow that little streak of frosting had survived. It made me smile. Outside, the air was cooler than usual for Austin, and the sidewalk still held on to the day's heat. I walked barefoot to the mailbox, expecting the usual, flyers, utility bills, maybe a delayed Amazon envelope I forgot I ordered. I shuffled through the stack without much interest, ready to toss most of it straight into recycling. Then I saw it. An off-white envelope, slightly bent at the edges like it had traveled through several hands before landing in mine. My name was written across the front, unevenly in familiar handwriting, slanted, hesitant. Virgil. I stood in the doorway for a long while, the envelope in one hand, mail in the other, unsure what to feel. I didn't open it right away. I didn't even go straight to the couch. I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and stood at the sink for a few moments, listening to the quiet hum of the fridge. I wiped down the counter even though it was already clean, rearranged the fruit bowl, adjusted a crooked magnet on the refrigerator, all stalling, all small rituals to brace for something bigger. Finally, I sat down and opened it. The letter wasn't long, barely half a page. The paper was plain, no return address, just folded neatly like it had taken him days to get it right. I don't know if you'll ever read this, he began. He said he was living in a small one-bedroom now. Not much space, but quiet. His words made it sound like a confession, not a complaint. He wrote about Lorraine, how she hadn't spoken to him since the foreclosure, how the silence between them had grown like mold in a forgotten corner. He wrote that he thought staying quiet during all those years was the same as keeping the peace. But I see now, he wrote, that silence was the loudest betrayal of all. I waited for a wave of something, tears, anger, even pity, but none came. Not because I didn't feel. I felt everything. But what settled in was a clear, quiet kind of knowing, the kind that doesn't need to be spoken aloud. I folded the letter carefully and tucked it away in the back of my desk drawer, right behind old bank receipts and Mina's first attempts at drawing people. Stick figures with giant heads and wobbly smiles. The letter didn't need a spotlight or a frame. It just needed a place to rest, like truth. Late, but here. That Saturday, the weather finally shifted. After a week of gray skies and sluggish drizzle, the sun pushed through. I packed a small picnic, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches cut diagonally the way Mina liked, some apple slices, 2 juice boxes, and a cookie wrapped in foil. We walked to the park hand in hand, not saying much. The light felt softer, the breeze kinder. Mina laid the blanket down herself. I sat with a book while she worked quietly in her sketchpad, tongue between her teeth, using colored pencils worn down to stubs. I didn't ask what she was drawing. I just let her be. When she was done, she passed the paper to me without a word. "This is us," she said, beaming. The drawing was simple. 2 stick figures, one tall with messy curls, one short with a big red heart on her shirt. "Just us," she added, as if to mark the boundaries of our world. "That's more than enough," I said, and meant it. Later that evening, my phone buzzed. Lorraine's number, again. No voicemail, no text. Just that tired pattern she liked to use. Just enough to stay on my mind, not enough to say anything real. I looked at the screen until it went dark. Then I went into my contacts and blocked the number. Not in anger. Not to make a statement, just because I didn't need the static anymore. I whispered to myself, almost without thinking, I forgive you, for me, not for you. It wasn't some grand healing moment. It was a release, like unclenching a fist I hadn't realized was tight. And then I opened the old family group chat, years of messages, fake cheerful greetings, happy Thanksgiving from us with matching outfits, passive-aggressive jabs disguised as just jokes. Photos I was cropped out of, invitations I never responded to, memories I didn't ask to keep. I pressed and held the thread, hit delete. It was like cutting a rope. The boat drifted off. No explosion, no collapse, just a quiet departure. Gone. But not mourned. Monday came with news I hadn't expected. My supervisor called me into a meeting, nothing serious, just a check-in, or so I thought. But then she smiled and said she was offering me a promotion. Senior financial analyst, a team of my own, more autonomy, a raise. I nodded, grateful, proud, but I didn't text anyone. That night, Mina and I baked cupcakes again. She insisted on cracking the eggs herself. I let her. Half the shells ended up in the garbage, the rest in the batter. We laughed so hard we forgot to set a timer. Frosting ended up on the wall. I left it there. After she fell asleep, cheeks sticky and content, I sat by the window with a blank journal on my lap. I held the pen for a moment, then wrote slowly. I am not who they said I was. I am who I became when I left. I didn't need applause, didn't need to be seen or praised or forgiven. I had something far better now. Peace. Before I let you go, let me leave you with this. We don't always get to choose the family we're born into, but we do get to choose the boundaries we set. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for your child is walk away from what hurts, even if it's tied to your last name. I didn't want revenge. I wanted peace. And peace didn't come wrapped in apologies. It came when I stopped begging people to see my worth and started living like I knew it myself. So if you're out there holding your breath for someone else to do right by you, maybe it's time to start doing right by yourself. You're not selfish for protecting your peace. You're not wrong for choosing better. You're not weak for letting go. And if you're still in the storm, I see you. You're not alone. What about you? Have you ever been pushed so far that you had no choice but to let go? What would you do if your own family turned against you? Tell me in the comments. Drop a 1 if this story hit home for you, or share where you're watching from. And if this story didn't quite sit right with you, I want to hear that too. Your voice matters here. And hey, if you want more stories that speak truth, stir emotion, and remind us all how strong we really are, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. You never know. Next time, it might just be your story that helps someone else heal. Thanks for listening. I'm so glad you're here.
My name is John Williams, a 30-year-old businessman. There's nothing special to note about me. I'm just working as an office clerk at a large wholesaler for alcohol. We don't have a store, but we do deliver beer and wine on credit to a wide variety of eateries such as bars and izakayas. Each delivery person is in charge of a truck, and when morning comes, they load barrels of beer and deliver them to the stores they are in charge of. As for me, I'm working in an office with only women, handling things like processing credit slips and various chores. I think I've been placed here because they need at least one male hand in the office. Still, it's true that I often have bad experiences because I'm looked down on by people like the driver, the procurement personnel, and the warehouse manager. On top of that, the general affairs department is a women's garden, and I feel uncomfortable. I often feel stressed because it feels like I'm caught on the horns of a dilemma. But the reason I'm still at this company is because not everything is bad. I have many colleagues I get along with, and I often get treated well by our regular customers. There are times for ups and downs. It would be the same no matter where I work. The change in my life happened this spring. The cause was a new department manager who joined the company in the middle of the term. He was a tough guy with a background in finance, having served as a branch manager of a regional bank. He had a tendency to try to settle everything with numbers. The department manager was rough from the start. Perhaps he felt pressured to produce results because he was hired in the middle of the term. His demands on us were too high. Suddenly, the previously laid-back atmosphere in the office started to get tense. According to the section chief, who secretly told me, it seems that the director is suggesting personnel cuts to the president. Indeed, there have been fewer drinking parties recently, and opportunities for outside drinking have been lost. It's a big blow to our company, which delivers alcohol to restaurants. I knew that sales were sluggish. When I heard about this from the team leader, I had a bad feeling. This was because, as far as the director was concerned, my performance seemed to be at rock bottom, and I was well aware that he had me in his sights. Perhaps being the only man among the clerks might give the impression of being incompetent. I had the impression that I was doing a decent job, but the director didn't seem to recognize my efforts at all. A month after the director took office, the discussions about reduction began. It started with soliciting voluntary retirees. Apparently, no one expressed a desire to leave. The director then prepared a list for the reduction. My name was at the top. He subtly applied pressure, saying, "It's not mandatory, but if you care about the company." Besides me, several delivery persons and assistants were chosen. It seemed like an arbitrary selection on the director's part. The warehouse keeper's name was on the list, and he was outraged, and rightly so. If the warehouse keeper quit, the company would be thrown into chaos because no one else could find a single bottle of wine in the huge warehouse. The president didn't seem to like the list either, but he had difficulty expressing his opinion to the director, who was an elite from the banking world. Even those whose names were on the downsizing list didn't willingly apply to resign just because their names were there. The company atmosphere was like, let's ignore the list. But the director didn't like that. Salespeople are in the company during the day. During the day, the director's target was me, the only one left in the office. Even when he didn't have anything to do, he kept loitering around my desk and nitpicking. I sincerely wished he would just stay cooped up in his office. Are you doing only that job every day? You have tons of work because you're slow. The director would lean over my work and scold me in an unnecessarily loud voice. I guess he wanted everyone in the office to hear. Every day, the office atmosphere got worse because of his yelling, and the director blamed it on me. He said that the reason the employees' motivation isn't increasing is because I'm in the company. I was stunned to be told that. Being called incompetent and a burden to the company every day was really wearing me down. My stress was reaching its limit. I'm convinced that the reason I blacked out and collapsed while trying to get up from my chair at the office was due to the director. I don't remember anything after that, but apparently I was quickly rushed to the hospital by an ambulance. I heard from my colleagues that I had been unconscious and appeared to be suffering since I collapsed. It turns out stress was indeed the direct cause of my collapse. It was a result of a dreadful pattern of stress leading to insomnia and overwork. When they performed the tests upon my emergency arrival at the hospital, the attending physician told me that there seemed to be other worrisome symptoms, which surprised me a bit. It turned out I would have to continue with further diagnostic tests. The results of these thorough tests revealed early-stage colon cancer. Receiving the cancer diagnosis was quite a shock, but I was a little reassured when the doctor told me that since it was in the early stages, there was a high likelihood of complete recovery with surgery. A hospital stay for tests turned out to be a much longer hospitalization than I anticipated, which was bothering me. Just as I thought my hospital stay might drag on a bit longer and contacted my office, the document that the secretary, now named as Nancy, brought me was early retirement papers. She looked very apologetic as she handed them to me, saying she was told by the director to deliver them. "Thank you for taking on such a nasty task," I said when I spoke to Nancy, who had brought the documents. She told me, "You should just ignore such papers." Of course, I don't want to take early retirement. I shoved the envelope into the drawer of the bedside table in my hospital room. "John, we'll take your temperature and blood pressure now." The nurse named Kathy came in, replacing Nancy in the room. The first time I saw her, I was so struck by her beauty that I didn't even realize when the injection was over. "Ah, yes, please go ahead." I get overly nervous when Kathy comes in. Her being extremely beautiful is one reason why I get so nervous. On top of that, she never smiles. She's called Iron Mask by the inpatients. It seems her fellow nurses also call her that. Kathy's expressionless demeanor and good looks make her appear doubly intimidating. It's not that she's cold or anything like that to the patients. She's a strict yet kind nurse. The young attending physician told me that he's most afraid of being scolded by her. She doesn't raise her voice, but seemed to be able to express her anger in a quiet manner. Your pulse is a bit fast. Are you not feeling well? Kathy, who was taking my pulse, queried. So it seems my pulse quickens just by having her near me, I thought, feeling nervous. I'm okay, there's nothing wrong with me, I hastily replied. Kathy stared at me fixedly and then let out a small sigh. I started to panic, wondering if I had disappointed her, but her sigh was not one of disappointment. Don't just dismiss things lightly as okay. You're here to fight a disease, remember. If you're feeling bad, or if there's even a slight difference from your norm, make sure to tell us, Kathy said with a serious expression. She then deeply bowed in my direction, apologizing for her inadequacy. Wait, why? You don't need to apologize for anything, Kathy. I understand there's a certain atmosphere around me that makes it hard for you to open up. I'm really sorry about that, I said gently, looking at her face to see if she's hurt. Her usual expressionless face remained unchanged. I'll be a good patient. My words slipped out awkwardly as I didn't know what else to say. Iron-faced Kathy's eyes widened in surprise, then she quickly returned to her usual expression and simply responded, I appreciate that. I suddenly felt embarrassed and couldn't say a single word until Kathy left the room. Hospital life is surprisingly busy with continuous tests before surgery. Today, I didn't return to my room until past 3:00 p.m. after the tests. Dragging my test read body into my room, I found that there was already someone there. It's my boss. Just seeing him doubled my exhaustion from the tests. He noticed me returning to the room and without any words of consolation, just said, Hey, I didn't feel like responding, but he's still my boss. Even if he's not the most pleasant, as an employee, I don't have much room to argue. Quietly, I just sat down on the edge of the bed. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, Director. That's the unwritten rule for employees, I suppose. My apology was met with a condescending nod from the director. I've heard you're in for a long stay. Have you received the early retirement forms? Why haven't you submitted them yet? The company would be better off without dead weight like you. He spoke to me as though I were a child, which got under my skin. I must have let my irritation show, I thought. The director gave a nasty grin. He was trying to rile me up. I knew that, but his attitude was hard to stomach. You came all this way to tell me that. I'm sorry for the trouble, but I have no intention of retiring early. I tried to choose my words carefully, trying to stay as calm as possible. Really, I wanted to shout him down and send him packing. The director smirked as if he could read my thoughts, and he didn't stop. If I caused a scene here, he might use that as an excuse to fire me. The tension hung in the air between the director and me like a standoff. The one who shattered that tension was Nurse Kathy. Excuse me, I believe I asked you to call me with the nurse call button once you return from your tests. Have you forgotten? The hospital room door burst open, and Nurse Kathy stood there, glancing back and forth between the director and me. I'm sorry, but could you please leave the room? Her voice was soft, but there was an undeniable authority in it. She shot the director a frosty stare, explaining, He's tired from his tests. What a rude nurse to his superior. The director rose from his chair, glaring at Nurse Kathy, but she simply pointed to the door and repeated, Please leave, boss. That doesn't matter here. This is a place where you follow the doctor's and nurse's instructions. You think being a boss works everywhere. The director's face turned beet red at that. It was like she'd called him out for flaunting his petty power. How dare you? I'll remember your name. With a parting shot, the director stormed out of the room like he was running away. I listened to the receding footsteps, letting out a sigh of relief. Would you like to lie down? Kathy, as if nothing had happened, helped me comfortably lay down. After lying down, all the exhaustion came to me. Why don't you take a nap until it's time for dinner? As she suggested this, she pulled the blanket up to my shoulders. I couldn't help but feel a little shy. Thank you. That man, he's a bit of a problematic boss. I appreciate you sending him away. As Kathy was about to leave the room, I called out to her. Slowly, she turned around. It's my job, right? Her flat tone delivered those words, but still, I wanted to say thank you. Upon hearing this, her hand, which was on the doorknob, stopped, and slowly she turned back towards me. Kathy looked at me with a strange expression, For a moment, I thought her feelings briefly showed on her face. Her face returned to its usual expressionless iron mask without saying anything more. She left the room. Fortunately, the surgery was successful, and I continued my treatment towards recovery. My body was at its limit due to stress. Even after the surgery, I was told to rest properly. During my lengthy hospital stay, I set a goal for myself, to see Kathy smile by the time I was discharged. I really wanted to see her smile. I also had a feeling that I wanted to grab her attention. Apparently, the director had visited the hospital several times after my surgery, but he never made it to my room. I was surprised to hear from another nurse that Kathy had turned him away every time. I was nothing but grateful to Kathy. I was attracted to her. All the strategies I came up with to see her smile ended in failure. Whether I prepared a horse mask or practiced magic tricks, everything was a bust. When I shared my Make Kathy Law project with other nurses, the news spread throughout the hospital. Getting advice from other patients, brainstorming strategies together, my hospital life quickly became more fulfilling. Yesterday, finally, a seemingly exasperated Kathy told me to focus on my treatment since I'm the patient. From then on, every time I tried to make her laugh, I got scolded with the same line. One day, as my discharge date was approaching, I got an urgent call on my cell phone from my colleague Laura. There had been a customer who was a regular complainer, making numerous complaints every day, causing work to be disrupted. Normally, I would be the one dealing with this customer. The complaints were usually about simple things like wrong order or late delivery. Nothing too serious, but this time, it seemed the customer was extremely angry because they received a different product than the one they ordered. I understand the situation, but I'm in the hospital. If you can't handle it, just escalate it to upper management. Let them deal with all of it, I advised. Normally, I could handle most complaints at my level, but this time, I'm afraid the bosses would have to step up. Laura said she would do that, and hung up. The complainer was a guy named Mr. Ferguson who ran a couple of bars and snack joints. He could be a bit tricky at times, but he wasn't unreasonable. As long as the first step in handling the complaint was correct, there shouldn't have been any problems. I've never experienced a complaint so severe that the phone didn't stop ringing for days. The day after Laura's call, my boss barged into my hospital room. He burst past the nurses who were trying to stop him, giving me quite a surprise. "Director, what's going on?" His forehead was covered in sweat, and his usually crisp suit looked somewhat worn out. "You've been handling that complainer and smoothing things over. It's your responsibility. Contact him and sort this out now." He tossed the company's cell phone at me, which made me feel exasperated. I did not pick up the company's cell phone, so the director kept yelling at me, saying that I should be grateful that a useless person like me could be of use. I was starting to worry about causing a disturbance in the hospital. Reluctantly, I picked up the company's cell phone. "Is it you again? This is a hospital. Please keep it down." Just as I was about to make the call, Kathy entered the room. The nurse who had initially tried to stop the boss had apparently fetched Kathy from another ward. She was stone-cold, glaring at the director without flinching, with her imposing demeanor. The director was taken aback. "I'm giving this good-for-nothing some work. Don't meddle with company affairs. You're just a nurse." Just as the boss's tirade was coming to an end, Kathy swiftly grabbed the company's cell phone from my hand. Then she shoved it into the director's chest pocket rather forcefully. "From this moment, this room is off limits to visitors. Why don't you go back and do your own job?" Kathy said as she pushed the boss out of the room and closed the door behind him. I heard a click as a sign was hung on the doorknob. It must be a no visitor sign. I could hear the director yelling outside the room. He made a ruckus for a while, but it seemed like he was escorted out by the security guards who came rushing in. In the end, from what I heard from another nurse, he was even begging her. Kathy, I did feel a bit sorry for him, but I think it served as a good lesson for the director. Afterwards, it appears that the director got more complaints from customers. While handling the complaint, in the end, our regular client, Mr. Ferguson, said he would switch to another liquor store, effectively terminating his contract with us. It was a major blow to the company. After a thorough investigation into the cause of the complaint, a revelation came to light. The director had rearranged the office on his own, and it seems a new and inexperienced worker had been put in charge of order reception with no one to assist. The newbie was left to handle everything on their own. That's when the mistakes at the reception started piling up and caused the complaint. There are so many types of alcohol that you can't count them all. Without an experienced receptionist, it's difficult to understand specific wine brands. Normally, an experienced office worker would be assisting the newbie, but the director jumped the gun with a reorganization for cost cutting, causing chaos throughout the office and the entire company. When the cause of the huge loss to the company was reported to the CEO, his reputation took a nosedive. Now he's been labeled as incompetent despite being an elite, and seems to be finding it hard to stay in the company. "What are you writing?" Kathy, who came to change my IV drip, peered at my computer screen. "I'm writing my own know-how on dealing with complaints. The method varies depending on the customer. Now that the director seems to have been assigned to handle complaints. The director, while retaining his title, has been told to take the lead in handling complaints. A colleague told me that he's been tormented every day by troublesome complainants. I think it would be a plus for both the customers and the company if I could contribute to handling complaints in any way." "Are you going to aid the enemy?" I get slightly embarrassed as she tells me this with a somewhat unresolved look. I'd rather see a smile on your face than that shocked look. In the end, I never got to see a smile on Kathy's face during my hospital stay. After a hospital life of over a month, I finally reached the day of my discharge. The attending physician and nurses who took care of me in the ward see me off at the hospital entrance. I'm about to get emotional as I even receive a bouquet of flowers as a discharge celebration. Kathy is also here among the people seeing me off, with her usual emotionless face. She stares at me. "I've been in your care a lot, Kathy." When I stand in front of Kathy to express my gratitude, I end up witnessing something unbelievable. "You did well, John. Congratulations on your discharge." With that, she softly flashes a smile as beautiful as a blossoming flower. I'm about to drop the bouquet from my hands from the surprise. I thought to myself, what a terrible woman she was at the end. After all the effort, she wouldn't smile at me. But at the moment we never see each other again, she shows me a smile. Memories of my hospitalization with her cross my mind one after another. Once I start to recall the fun moments, I can't hold back anymore. I burst into tears in reaction to her smile. Seeing this, the people sending me off start to roar with laughter. I'm so embarrassed, unable to hold myself back. I crouch down on the spot. Well, do not cry like that. People who work hard deserve a little reward. This is just a bonus. Kathy whispers this while gently patting my crushed back. A piece of notepaper, roughly inscribed with her familiar handwriting, has her cell phone number on it. She gently places it in my hand. Below it are the words, "Contact me if you feel like it. I'll be waiting." By the time I stop crying in surprise and look up, she's already returned to the send-off line, waving with her usual emotionless face. I wave back at everyone while expressing my thanks, then get into a taxi. In the moment I get in, I call Kathy's cell phone. "You're impatient, aren't you?" After 5 rings, she answers the phone with a soft chuckle. I hadn't thought about how to ask her out and can't find the words in my sudden panic. Will you date me with the intention of marriage?" This was the first thing that came out. Even the taxi driver turns around in surprise. I'm so embarrassed I wish I could disappear into a hole. Isn't that a bit too hasty? But okay, perhaps I found the treasure of my life in a hospital, and I was too lucky. A few years later, I can't help but grin imagining her standing next to me in a white bridal dress. How did you enjoy today's story? Subscribe to the channel and give us likes. It gives us motivation for our production activities. We're also looking forward to hearing your comments. See you again in the next video. He's just a high school graduate and super poor. Michael probably invited me to the singles party as a scapegoat to make himself look better. Sure, he's usually competent at work and is a promising man who graduated from a prestigious university and works for a major corporation. But he might have overplayed it this time. After sending the drunken Michael home, I stayed behind with the 3 women. We were just talking, and they asked if I'd like to have another drink somewhere quieter. In the end, we moved to a quieter place and continued drinking, no longer treating it as a singles party. My name is Jim Johnson. I work at a law firm and am 29 years old. The firm I work for is one of the largest in the city. We have a diverse group of professionals, including lawyers, judicial scribes, and administrative staff. I'm a practicing lawyer and an associate director. Our firm is staffed with young and talented individuals. Let me share a bit about my childhood. Both of my parents were lawyers, and I was raised in London until I started elementary school. My parents were international lawyers, but London was dangerous at the time, so they decided to send me to school in the US. I lived with my paternal grandparents while my parents traveled between the US and London for their work. Adjusting to school in the US was tough since I had been in the UK all my life. Eventually, I made friends but preferred to be a lone wolf. I didn't seek to join groups, which suited me just fine. I think it was around that time that I met Michael. We were classmates in elementary and middle school. He was always the leader type, always at the center of the group. We weren't exactly friends, but we weren't enemies either. We just went about our daily lives in our respective roles. In middle school, as the school district expanded, we got more classmates from different elementary schools, but neither Michael nor I changed our stance. I continued at my own pace while Michael remained a standout. We went to different high schools and reconnected about 2 years ago. He suddenly called out to me at a restaurant, and at first, I didn't recognize him. "Hey, is that you, Jim?" "It's me, Michael. We went to elementary and middle school together." "Oh, Michael, it's been a while." Honestly, I was a bit confused. Michael's charisma was still the same, but his appearance had changed significantly. We weren't particularly close back in school, but he never seemed this flashy. He still had a bright personality but was now dressed in obviously expensive branded suits and had an unnaturally perfect hairstyle. "Jim, what are you up to these days?" "I'm usually working at a law firm. How about you?" "I work for a trading company. They say I'm a rising star." "Wow, that's impressive." Michael is in the sales department at Young Trading Company, and according to him, he's highly regarded there. It was typical of Michael to brag like that. He sees himself, and others see him, as a successful guy. "Jim, you graduated from high school, right?" "What? I heard a rumor you graduated from high school and then moved away." "Well, I did move. His house and my grandparents' house, where I lived until high school, were in the same district, so he must have heard about the move. It was so typical of him to assume I only graduated high school. Because of that, I decided to just let it slide. After graduating from high school, I moved to the UK to join my parents and enrolled at Oxford University. Given that I have few friends in the US, not many people knew this about me. I juggled both Oxford and law school and, upon graduation, became a lawyer. With parents who were international lawyers, it was a natural path for me. Like my parents, I also became an international lawyer, worked in London for a few years, and then returned to the US when my current law firm offered me a position. The firm, although large, is relatively new. I joined as part of the founding team and was appointed deputy director, working alongside Mr. Anderson to expand our connections and build the firm to what it is today. A comprehensive legal office where legal issues can be handled in one place. We have attracted business without much advertising. Although I'm often interviewed, I prefer staying out of the spotlight, so not many people know my face. That's why Michael doesn't know my background. Michael's change wasn't just an appearance. He continued talking to me after our chance encounter. "Perfect timing, Jim. Are you free this Friday?" "Friday night? I think I am. What's up?" "There's a drinking party, or rather a networking event. Want to join?" "What kind of networking event?" "Well, to be honest, it's a singles party. We need one more guy." "I'm not really interested." "Come on, don't say that. It's at that Michelin star restaurant in the city that everyone's talking about. It's a rare opportunity." Michael still thought I was just a high school graduate. I had been to that restaurant several times for client meetings, but I pretended not to know. A singles party at such a famous restaurant. That's pretty fancy. "Are you worried about the cost?" "Don't worry, I'll cover your share, so just come." "I don't care about the singles party, but if it's just about having dinner, I guess I could join." "That's fine." "Great, I'll send you the details tomorrow. Here's my contact info." Michael handed me his contact information and left. I've never voluntarily joined a singles party. In a way, it might be a rare experience, just as Michael said. As a lawyer, I'm comfortable talking to people, but this might be a unique chance to enjoy a Michelin star dinner for free, so I decided to go with a light-hearted attitude. On Friday, I headed to the restaurant mentioned in Michael's message. After mentioning his name at the entrance, I was led to a private room. There Michael and three women, who appeared to be office workers, were already seated. "Oh, you made it. This is my childhood friend Jim. Nice to meet you. I'm Jim. Thank you for having me tonight." "Nice to meet you." We work in reception. We exchanged polite greetings. All three women were elegant and beautiful. I was slightly curious about how Michael managed to arrange the singles party with these three women. With three women present, there were only Michael and I as the men. Just when I thought another man might join, Michael started the proceedings. "All right, we're all here, so let's start." "Wait, aren't we missing someone? The other guy canceled last minute. Let's just enjoy ourselves with this group." Thus, the singles party began, but it turned out to be a singles party for Michael, by Michael, and all about Michael. We chatted about general topics and our backgrounds for a while, with Michael at the center. As he drank more, he started to loosen up. I mentioned that I graduated from the University of California with a degree in economics and that I'm doing well at Young Trading Company. Compared to me, Michael is just a high school graduate and isn't well off. It's surprising how different our lives turned out despite growing up in similar environments. "Hey Michael, you're drinking too much," I said. "Oh, I guess that was a sore spot for you. Sorry for bringing it up." "It's not that. It's just ruining the mood. Everyone's having fun, aren't they?" Michael was lost in his own world, writing about his background. The women seemed completely put off. Should I do something about this? But I was here because Michael invited me for dinner, so I didn't feel the need to put in extra effort. I'd excused myself and headed to the restroom. As I washed my hands, I noticed one of the women looking at me. "Excuse me, sorry about Michael. I didn't know he had such bad drinking habits." "We're fine. More importantly, you're not really a high school graduate, are you?" "What?" I was taken aback. I hadn't shared my background or job with them, and as far as they knew, I was the high school graduate Michael had described. "How did you know? You don't recognize me, do you? This is our first meeting, right?" "Actually, I know you. I'm Jessica. I work at the reception desk at your law firm." "No way," I said, surprised. "I recognized you as soon as you arrived. I thought Michael knew too, but then he called you a high school graduate and super poor. I couldn't figure out why. Michael and I aren't close. I just came along for the ride today." "That makes sense. I was surprised to think you were friends with someone like Michael. But now I get it. I hadn't seen Michael in nearly 15 years and didn't graduate from a university in the U.S. I was raised by my grandparents in the U.S. from elementary school through high school, so Michael probably assumed I was poor without my parents around. We went to different high schools and didn't keep in touch, so he had no way of knowing my career path. Michael likely invited me to the singles party thinking I would make him look better. Did he really want to be admired that much? Was he dressing in expensive brands to impress others? I started to feel a bit sorry for him. Not wanting to leave the group hanging, Jessica and I returned to the party. Michael was still in high spirits. "Hey Jim, you're back. We're talking about going to a second place." "Really? Maybe we should call it a night," I suggested. The women were whispering among themselves, clearly unhappy. It would probably be best for everyone if they left. I continued to calm Michael down. In the end, I paid the bill and pushed Michael into a taxi. "Hey, high school graduate, what do you think you're doing? I'm paying. Let's go to the next place." "No, that's enough. Please take him home," I told the driver, sending Michael off. I stayed behind with the three women. "Sorry for ruining the evening. Let's just call it a night. We were just talking and wondering if you'd like to have another drink with us somewhere quieter." "What?" I was surprised. When I told them you were the amazing lawyer who's the deputy director at our firm, they wanted to talk more. "You didn't have to say that. It's fine. Otherwise, it would be too unfair for you." In the end, we moved to a quieter place and continued drinking, no longer treating it as a singles party. Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Jim, and I work at a law firm. "Come on, Jim, don't be so modest. You're a lawyer and the deputy director of your firm." I don't usually mention I'm a lawyer to new people because some don't see me for who I am once they know. "Jim, You went to Oxford University, right? Michael doesn't know that and thinks you're a high school graduate. Yeah, my parents worked in the UK, so it just happened naturally. The two women with Jessica seemed much more interested now. It turns out they were Jessica's college classmates. Fortunately, they didn't change their attitude towards me after learning I was a lawyer. Jessica explained that the man who didn't show up was a mutual acquaintance who had organized a singles party. Why did Michael say those unfounded things about you being poor? Jessica asked. I didn't say that. He just misunderstood. I'm not super rich, so I didn't bother correcting him. How humble can you be? Why would he think that? Maybe because I lived with my grandparents when we were classmates. So he'd assumed you were poor. That's such a narrow-minded view. We weren't that close, so it's understandable. The women, led by Jessica, were completely put off by Michael. He probably invited me to make himself look better. I might be a high school graduate in terms of US education and not exceptionally wealthy, but he never listened to my story and misunderstood my background. Despite graduating from a top university and working at a major corporation, Michael let it get to his head. No matter how much luxury you surround yourself with, it means nothing if your character doesn't match. I don't know how others perceive me, but I would never use others to elevate myself. I couldn't forgive him for implying my grandparents were poor. Although my parents worked overseas and frequently returned to check on me, it was my grandparents who raised me daily. They taught me not about becoming a lawyer, but about being a good person. I studied hard, inspired by both my outstanding parents and my humble grandparents. Naturally, I wanted to become a lawyer like my parents and a person of integrity like my grandparents. When I was working as a junior lawyer in London, I was approached by Director Anderson, the director of my current firm. Despite being young, Director Anderson was a prominent lawyer in the US, disillusioned with the old practices at his previous firm and determined to start a new one. Mr. Anderson, also an international lawyer, had connections with my parents. One day, he contacted me from the US with an offer. Jim, would you like to help me establish a law firm in the US? He asked. I knew of Director Anderson through my parents, but was surprised by the offer to co-found a new firm. Why me? I used to work in the legal field in London, so I've heard about your excellence. Your parents, the Johnsons, helped me a lot. I've heard you worked with them when I was still finding my way. Your parents helped me grow into a competent lawyer in London. They taught me to be a person first, then a lawyer. Knowing that, I have no doubt you must be exceptional too. I think you're overestimating me. I'm just an ordinary person. That's exactly why I want you, Mr. Anderson said. He persistently persuaded me, even though I initially planned to continue working in London. After much deliberation, I decided to accept his offer. Although I had wanted to stay in London, I knew I could always return. I was genuinely happy and felt a sense of purpose being invited by someone who saw potential in me. Additionally, having my grandparents, who watched over me until I graduated high school, back in the US was a significant factor. Even though my grandparents weren't lawyers, I considered them my true parents. My only concern while in London was leaving them behind in the US. So I returned from London and helped establish the new firm. Mr. Anderson and I recruited and carefully selected young talented professionals without compromising on quality. After the firm opened, it became a bit of news. Director Anderson, already well known, was often busy with media appearances. Due to my personality, I stayed out of the spotlight and focused on the background work. Thus, it wasn't surprising that Michael knew nothing about me. As I shared this with the women, time flew by. We should probably head home. It was great talking with you, Mr. Johnson. I had a lot of fun. Please just call me Jim. Let's skip the formal titles. But you are the deputy director. I'll make sure to tell Michael. There's no need. I doubt I'll see him again. No, I need to set the record straight. As we parted ways, Jessica spoke to me. Mr. Johnson, would you like to have dinner again sometime? I felt a connection with Jessica, having met her coincidentally despite working at the same firm, and accepted her invitation with a smile. It was clear she didn't ask me out because of my title. We exchanged contact information and went our separate ways that night. A few days later, I received a call from Michael. Jim, you're a lawyer? Yes, why didn't you tell me? I said I worked at a law firm. I thought you were a janitor or something. I always thought you were just a high school graduate raised by your grandparents. Well, I did live modestly. But it's all a lie. You're an Oxford graduate and a lawyer. I never lied. You just misunderstood. Unlike his confident demeanor when we reunited, Michael was now stumbling over his words. He must have learned the truth through Jessica. Whether I'm an Oxford graduate or a lawyer, I'm still just a classmate. This is why I usually don't talk much about my background. Some people see me differently once they know. Michael seemed completely intimidated by me now. Since then, he never invited me to another singles party. Around the same time Michael contacted me, Jessica also reached out. She wanted to discuss something over dinner, so we arranged to meet. I've been studying since last year. Studying? I want to become a lawyer. I started working at the firm to get closer to the legal field. I have a law degree but haven't passed the bar exam yet. I see. Why not work as a paralegal instead of a receptionist? Jessica explained that she was aiming to become a lawyer to repay her single mother, who raised her alone. She pursued her dream by attending a state university with a scholarship but hadn't passed the bar exam yet. Although she wanted to work as a paralegal, she needed to support her mother, so she worked as a receptionist during the day and at a restaurant at night. I can talk to the firm about having you work as a paralegal. That's not why I brought this up. I was wondering if I should keep trying or if it's time to give up. I support you to keep going. It's best to work as a paralegal and get first-hand experience. It's the quickest way. Are you sure? If given the chance, I'd love to try. Then let's arrange the transfer right away. I'll support you as much as I can. So Jessica transitioned from being a receptionist to working as a paralegal under a lawyer. I also arranged to meet with Jessica once a week for what turned into study sessions. Jessica's skills and confidence grew rapidly, and she looked much more radiant than when we first met at the singles party. Then came the bar exam. Jessica gave it her all and passed with flying colors. She was no longer a receptionist or a paralegal. Wearing her lawyer's badge, Jessica was filled with pride and confidence. Watching her, I realized something. I had fallen in love with Jessica, who had worked so hard and achieved her dream. As a newly minted lawyer, Jessica decided to gain experience by working at another law firm. She would be busier now, and we might not see each other as often. I decided to confess my feelings to her. Jessica, congratulations. You really worked hard. Thank you. It's all thanks to you and everyone else. Jessica, I've liked you for a long time. Will you stay by my side from now on? Oh my, I've probably liked you since even before that, when we met by chance at that singles party. I was so surprised. I'm honored that you feel this way. Yes, let's be together. And so Jessica and I started dating. Though our busy schedules meant we couldn't see each other often, we cherished the time we spent together. A year passed quickly, and Director Anderson had some news for me. Jim, I'm thinking of moving to London. What? I've been invited back by the firm I worked for in London. After careful consideration, I've decided to go. That's great. I wish you all the best. And I want you to take over this firm as the director. Do you think I'm up to the task? I've been watching you, and I know you can do it. You're the only one I trust with this. Thus, I became the director of the law firm. The following month, although I had always worked behind the scenes, I could no longer stay out of the spotlight. As the director, I found myself increasingly appearing on TV and in magazines, leading to even busier days. Despite my hectic schedule, I decided to take a vacation to spend time with Jessica. Though we kept in touch regularly, seeing her after a long time made me realize how much she had grown. You're the director now. It feels like you're drifting away. I'm busier, but I haven't changed. Hey, I have a proposal. A proposal? How about becoming a family? Wait, are you? It's a proposal, yes. Wow, I'm so surprised, but I'm so happy. Yes, I'd love to. Jessica's face lit up like a blooming flower when I placed the engagement ring on her left ring finger. She teared up a bit. You're making me laugh and cry at the same time. Of course, it's a flood of happiness. I then suggested that Jessica and her mother move in with me. Since her mother was her only family, it was the natural thing to do. After confirming it was okay with me, Jessica started crying tears of joy. We decided to set up our new home close to my grandparents' house. This way, I could also keep an eye on my beloved grandparents. Upon announcing our engagement, my parents immediately planned to return to the U.S. Next weekend, we are organizing a family dinner, including Jessica's mother. I'm at the peak of happiness, but I know I couldn't have achieved this alone. My grandparents, parents, Mr. Anderson, Jessica, the staff from both the London and the US offices, all of them helped me get to where I am today. And yes, I should also thank Michael, who inadvertently brought Jessica and me together. I will keep these feelings in my heart and continue to work hard, never resting on my laurels. You don't belong here with that missing arm of yours, you defect. Get out now. The angry shout echoed throughout the store, causing me to instinctively shield my sister Emily next to me and look at the man in front of us. The man was looking down on Emily and me with an intimidating gaze. I'm sorry. Tears began to stream down my frightened sister's face. The moment I saw those tears, something in me snapped. I had reached my breaking point. Then you are fired as of today, I said with a cold stare at the man. My name is Kyle. Right after graduating from high school, I started working at a company as an employee. Hey Kyle, I'm home. Hey Emily. How was your day? Emily, my sister, just started working this year. Come here, Emily. I'll help you take it off. It's okay. I can do it by myself. But it's hard to do alone, isn't it? Come here. Geez, Kyle, you're too overprotective. Emily sighed slightly, exasperated, and rolled up the sleeve of her left arm. Emily's left arm is a prosthetic. Moreover, she has only recently started using it, so Emily is still not quite used to putting it on and taking it off. When Emily said she wanted to live alone after becoming a working adult, I couldn't allow it. Our parents are no longer with us, so naturally, I worry about Emily a lot. See, it's off now. Thanks, Kyle. Emily carefully cradled the removed prosthetic arm with her right arm. Hey, Kyle, today was my first payday. Is that so? It's already been a month since you started working at that factory. Congratulations. What are you going to buy with your first paycheck? Well, first this. Here, Kyle, take this. This is... Emily handed me an envelope filled with cash. It's to pay back what you fronted for the prosthetic. It might be little by little, but I'll make sure to pay it back. You don't have to worry about it. No way. This is something I definitely want to pay for with my own money. Well, also, Kyle, let's go out to eat on our next day off. Remember that seafood restaurant we saw on TV? I'll treat you. Hey, that place is expensive. You don't need to do that. If you want to go, I'll treat you. Come on, that defeats the purpose. I want to give back for all the times you've taken care of me. Emily, I was incredibly happy that Emily cared so much about me, but it also made me feel a bit lonely. The next day, I talked about it with my coworker Alex. Emily wants to treat me to some pretty good seafood on her entry-level salary. What do you think, Alex? Well, that sounds nice. You should go, Alex said with a bright smile. I've known her since high school, and she gets along well with Emily too. Given her familiarity with me and my sister, I was hoping for some opening advice, but her straightforward opinion took me by surprise. I must have looked quite downcast as Alex cocked her head in confusion after seeing my face. What's wrong? Aren't you happy? No, it's not that. It's just that, actually, I've also received the money Emily saved to pay me back for the prosthetic arm. I'm worried that if she spends so much, she won't have much money left for herself. I don't think there's anything to worry about, really. Yes, because that's what Emily wants to do, right? You should accept her feelings. Maybe you're right. Look, if you're going to keep worrying about it, I'll go out to dinner with Emily in your place. What? No way, that's definitely not happening. All right then, stop fussing and let Emily treat you, okay, Kyle? Alex teased, smirking and tapping me lightly on the head. Okay, I get it. While I still felt a bit uneasy, I understood what Alex was trying to say. I decided to accept Emily's feelings. And so, the day came for Emily and me to go to the seafood restaurant. Kyle, are you ready? Yeah, ready whenever you are. I turned around as I responded. There stood Emily, dressed a bit more fashionably than usual. Wow, Emily, you look nice. Really? I don't look too childish. Are you sure it's okay? It's fine. You look beautiful. I couldn't help but marvel at how grown-up she had become. Then, shall we get going? I smiled, trying to mask the sudden surge of loneliness, and urged Emily on. We arrived at the restaurant and were seated at the counter in front of the open kitchen. We were quickly admitted, thanks to Emily's reservation. Could we start with a few chef's choice appetizers, please? Of course, the chef nodded at Emily's order and, with skillful hands, prepared the appetizers and placed them in front of us. It was the best stuff I had ever tasted. This is amazing. It's delicious, Kyle. It really is. Thanks, Emily, for bringing me to such a nice place. Hey, are you crying, Kyle? No, it's just something in my eye. I tried to hide the tears welling up from the emotional moment, turning my face away from Emily. I caught the eye of the smiling chef, feeling a bit embarrassed. By the way, how's work going? Are you managing okay? I'm doing fine. I'm a bit clumsy at times, but I'm getting used to it. No worries. Emily said this with a bright smile, but I knew something she didn't. Occasionally, Emily would come home with bruises here and there. I had once pressed her to tell me what was happening. I'm just not used to the environment and the tasks, so I end up bumping into things here and there, Emily said, as if it were nothing. True to Emily's words, the frequency of her coming home injured had decreased lately, but I still couldn't help but worry. Emily, if anything tough happens at work, you need to tell me right away. Geez, I told you I'm fine. You really worried too much, Kyle. Sorry, was I being too persistent? No, it's because you're always there for me, Kyle, that I can keep trying my best. Thank you so much. Emily's tears began to well up in my eyes again. I guess I tend to get overly concerned when it comes to Emily. Emily's current job is at a factory that I helped her get through a connection at my company. They mainly assemble prosthetics there, and they'd assigned Emily some simple tasks she can manage with one arm. Before Emily started working at the factory, I insisted that having a prosthetic arm would be definitely better, but Emily refused to let me pay for it. Kyle, I want to work hard and pay for the prosthetic arm with my own money. Please don't pay for it. Please. But Emily, it would be better to have the prosthetic sooner, don't you think? Ideally, before you start working at the factory. I know, but Emily closed her mouth, a complex expression on her face. By this time, Emily had become less dependent on me. It wasn't long ago that she would run to me crying over the smallest things. Kyle, I'm sorry, but I can't budge on this. I want to pay for the prosthetic with my own money. That's what I want to do. All right, if you insist that much, we'll do it your way. Really? Is that okay? Sure, but in exchange, let's get the prosthetic made right now. Oh, what do you mean? I don't have that much saved up yet. Seeing Emily's confused and worried face, I gently placed my hand on her head. Yeah, so I'll cover the... Seeing Emily's confused and worried face, I gently placed my hand on her head. Yeah, so I'll cover the initial costs. Once you start getting your salary, you can pay me back little by little, as long as it's not too hard on you. Tears started to roll down Emily's cheeks. Thank you. I'll definitely pay you back. It's okay if you don't, though. No, I must. I absolutely will. You have to take it when I do. It's a promise, okay? I understand. I understand. I stroked Emily's head, comforting her as she began to cry. It hasn't been that long since that day, but lately it feels like Emily is growing up at an incredible rate. As I gazed at Emily's face, she gave me a slightly troubled smile. What's wrong, Kyle? I was just thinking, you've really grown up. Of course I have. I'm an adult now, you know. I even want to live on my own. That's out of the question. Besides, you can commute from home for now, so there's no need to rush into living alone, right? Maybe you're right. I guess I'll keep relying on you a bit longer then, she said with a laugh. Perhaps she realized how earnest I had become. Emily looked at me with a mischievous smile. Kyle, thank you for supporting me this far. I might lean on you a lot more in the future, but today is on me. Thank you, Emily. When Emily first started working, it wasn't just the injuries. She often looked exhausted when she came home. I had thought about convincing her to quit if this continued, but Emily has persevered and continued with her job. I felt a deep sense of emotion at Emily's growth. Today would surely be a memorable day for us siblings. As we enjoyed the delicious meal and had a great time, a man unexpectedly approached us from behind. Emily, what are you doing here? Oh, good evening, Mr. Jones. Seeing the face of the man who approached, Emily's expression darkened instantly. It was rare to see Emily, who's usually so friendly, show such an attitude towards someone, which made me scrutinize the man's face closely. So, who's this guy? Your boyfriend? No, that's not it. This is my brother. Mr. Jones glanced at me disdainfully. I didn't like his attitude, but considering he was someone from Emily's workplace, it seemed better not to stir up trouble. Are you from Emily's workplace? I'm her brother Kyle. Nice to meet you. I'm Bill Jones, the factory manager. Mr. Jones seemed to be around my age. Despite being the manager, he was quite young. I remembered hearing that a veteran worker at Emily's factory had retired not long ago. Mr. Jones, Emily's always been grateful for your guidance, but let's leave work out of this since we're in a private setting and enjoy our time here today. Yeah, sure. I tried to casually steer the conversation away and distance us from him, but for some reason, Mr. Jones decided to sit down next to Emily. Feeling uneasy about it, I turned my attention back to Emily. Emily, would you like to order something new? Yeah, let's see. What should we get? Emily smiled awkwardly, leaning towards me as if she felt uncomfortable next to Mr. Jones. He was watching her intently with a somewhat oppressive gaze. Emily, could you look this way for a second? What? Oh, just as I thought. There's an eyelash on your cheek. Go to the restroom and take it off. Oh, sorry, and thank you. I'll be right back. Taking the opportunity while Emily was away, I moved to her seat. I somehow felt it wasn't right to leave Emily and this man side by side. You seem to get along well with your sister. I guess it's normal, I think. Now I see. It's because you spoil her so much that she's always so cuddled. His gaze felt unsettling, as if he was assessing me. At this point, I had a hunch the reason Emily often looked unhappy when she came home from work must be because of this man. Kyle, sorry for the wait and thanks. It's okay, no worries. Emily seemed to understand my actions. Upon returning from the restroom, though a bit bewildered, she took the seat I had been in. Excuse me, could we get a couple more Chef's Choice plates, please? Of course, just a moment. Chef's Choice. Mr. Jones let out a low chuckle as Emily placed her order with the chef. Someone as useless as you, who can't even carry a load, sure is living the high life. It's a special occasion today. Oh, despite dropping important parts every day and getting yelled at. His words revealed something I couldn't ignore. It seemed Emily was being made to carry loads at the factory. Excuse me, sir, may I have a word? What is it? Looking at Mr. Jones, who regarded me as if I were an annoyance, I couldn't help but glare back. Mr. Jones, Emily isn't suited for heavy lifting tasks. I was under the impression that your factory was aware of this and hired her with that understanding. Weren't you aware of this? What are you talking about? We're paying her a salary. We can't afford to give anyone special treatment, can we? After belittling me with those words, he deliberately leaned over to Emily, grinning slightly. It's disgusting, really. I have to tolerate your uselessness at work, and here you are dining in a fancy place. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. A defective product like you with only one arm doesn't belong here. Get out now. Hey, Mr. Jones, please don't raise your voice. Instinctively, I shielded Emily and moved away from Mr. Jones. Emily, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Sorry, I'm so sorry. Emily tried to hold back, but her voice trembled and tears spilled from her eyes. Emily, don't apologize. There's no need for you to be sorry. I wrapped an arm around Emily's shoulder, offering her a handkerchief. She weakly accepted it and stifled a sob. Why should Emily have to endure such treatment? It was unjust. Emily didn't choose to be one-armed. Hearing her cry, my mind drifted back to the dreadful memory of the accident. It happened several years ago. That day, Emily was headed to a PE competition with our parents. Kyle, can you come today? Sorry, I've got a practice match with the club. I see. Then it can't be helped. Let's celebrate when I get back. You're bound to win something, Emily. Okay, I'll do my best. Thanks, Kyle. I'm off then. She waved with a smile, joining our parents in the car. Little did I know that tragedy would strike soon after. Dad, Mom, Emily. Suddenly called by the club advisor, I was faced with an unbearable truth. I rushed to the hospital I was directed to, screaming in front of the operating room. You must be Kyle, right? Yes, that's me. Doctor, how are my parents and my sister? I'm sorry. Unfortunately, your parents. It can't be. My mind went blank. It was a car accident. I was told they collided head-on with a car that veered into their lane. Despite all medical efforts, my parents were gone. Kyle, please brace yourself about your sister, Emily. The reality the doctor revealed floored me. After a long surgery, Emily was the only one who miraculously survived. Kyle, where's Emily? It's okay. I'm here. That's good. Hey Kyle, my left hand. It doesn't move and doesn't hurt at all. What happened to my left hand? Emily, it's okay. Don't worry. Just rest for now. I'll always be by your side. Soon, her breathing evened out in sleep. Gently, I touched Emily's left shoulder. Oh, Emily. Oh, Emily. Seeing Emily with her arm completely missing from the elbow down, I couldn't hold back my tears. Emily had aspired to be a pianist. Both our parents and I always supported Emily's dream. The realization that such aspirations had been dashed caused me great distress. Despite knowing that neither our parents would return nor Emily's arm would come back, the sense of loss was overwhelming. After graduating from high school, I chose to work. Kyle, are you sure you don't want to go to college? Yeah, it's fine. I didn't have a specific goal in mind. But Emily, you shouldn't give up on your dream of becoming a pianist. But how can I? With a near tearful expression, Emily touched her shortened left arm. My left hand. It's gone. How can I become a pianist now? That's not true. Once your surgical wounds heal, we'll get you a prosthetic arm, and then you can start practicing again. I'm sure you'll be able to play the piano again. Really? Of course. Dad, Mom, and I will always be there to support you. Thank you, Kyle. I was determined not to let Emily give up on her dream of becoming a pianist. Somehow, continuing to strive for her goal felt like a way to maintain a connection with our departed parents. And so began our life together as siblings. Kyle, the pot's burning. Burning? Oh, sorry, Emily. It's dangerous, don't touch it. At first, we struggled with unfamiliar household chores. Enough, I've come to help. It's unfair to Emily to eat such food. Sorry, Alex. I appreciate the help. Seeing my never-improving culinary skills, Alex offered a helping hand out of concern. From now on, I'll take care of the laundry, so don't you dare touch it, Kyle. But that's too much. I'm not doing this for you. Emily asked me for help. Really? You should be more considerate, even if you're siblings. Right, sorry. Regardless of our sibling bond, Emily was a girl of a certain age. There might be things she found hard to discuss with me. While Alex's help with chores was invaluable, what I truly appreciated was her willingness to listen to Emily's concerns. Through it all, we supported each other and persevered together. Why should someone like Mr. Jones, who knew nothing about us, say such things to us? Seeing Emily cry under his intimidation, something inside me snapped. Mr. Jones. As I stood up, protecting Emily, I turned to face Mr. Jones. Yeah, what is it, big bro? Don't call me big bro. It makes me sick. Sorry, big bro. Mr. Jones's condescending laughter pushed me past my limit. Mr. Jones, you are fired as of today. What? What are you talking about? His eyes widened in shock at my words. Kyle. Emily looked up at me, worried. Emily, let's go. Wait a minute, what do you mean by that? As we attempted to leave, Mr. Jones called out to us in a panic. I couldn't be bothered to explain. I pulled out my wallet, fetched a business card, and tossed it at him. This is, no way, you are. I'll be reporting your behavior. Even if the higher-ups forgive you, I never will. Remember that. Ignoring Mr. Jones as he stuttered and gaped after seeing my business card, Emily and I settled our bill at the restaurant and left. We then visited Alex's house to discuss a certain matter. Welcome, I've been waiting. Emily, are you okay? Oh dear, you've cried so much. Thank you, Alex. It's okay. Alex and Kyle will protect you. You don't have to worry about anything now. Alex welcomed us at the door and embraced the crying Emily. Kyle, I got the gist over the phone, but let's talk more once you've settled down. While holding Emily, I could see the fury in Alex's eyes. Soon after, Alex took Emily to the bedroom and put her to bed. Sitting in the living room and waiting for Alex, she came over and sat down on the sofa opposite me with a sigh. Did you manage to get anything out of Emily? Yes, but you might not want to hear it. She made me promise not to tell you. Crying? I have a rough idea. Thanks, Alex. Alex avoided eye contact with me as if disgusted. It seemed likely the bruises on Emily's body were probably not just from dropping things but from other incidents too. That man, he can't be forgiven. I understand. Let's go to the factory together tomorrow. Are you sure, Alex? Kyle, I feel the same way as you. Okay, thanks. Finally making eye contact, we nodded in understanding. Our resolve was unified. Tomorrow, we would confront that man. The next day, Emily, Alex, and I went to the piano factory. Mr. Smith, from the back, Mr. Jones, having spotted us, rushed over. As Emily flinched, Alex and I shielded her and faced Mr. Jones. Thank you so much for coming. I had no idea you were an employee of Carter Music. I deeply apologize for my rudeness yesterday. What a turnaround from yesterday's attitude. Mr. Jones kept smiling and apologizing to me. I was speechless at his sudden change of heart. Well, it's not surprising. The company where Alex and I work is a major client of this factory. Moreover, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say they are almost exclusively a prime contracting company. Mr. Jones, before apologizing to me, could you please apologize to Emily for yesterday and for everything before that? Oh, well, that is, with a look that said I knew everything. I stared him down. Sweeting, Mr. Jones looked around nervously. Just so you know, there's no escaping this. What's with you? Oh, well, my apologies. I haven't introduced myself, nor Alex. Could it be you are? Mr. Jones was shocked as he checked his business card. The current president of Carter Music is my father, and I work here as a prospective president. Is there a problem? No, of course not. I'm terribly sorry. So you see, you're missing the point. The person you really need to apologize to is Alex. Kyle, it's okay. I'm fine now. From behind Alex and me, Emily let out a soft cry. Then, staring down Mr. Jones with all her might, she stepped in front of us. Mr. Jones, I am resigning from this factory as of today. Though my time here was short, I am grateful for the opportunity. Emily apologized profoundly. What? What are you talking about all of a sudden? It's not like it matters if someone useless like you leaves. I couldn't care less. Don't come crying back to me. Well, we'll see who ends up regretting this. Remember what I said about reporting this matter to the higher-ups? What? I've already informed our CEO about this issue. Naturally, our dealings are official. The official documents will follow. You're finished. I've never seen my father so furious before. No, please. Hearing Alex's words, Mr. Jones collapsed to his knees, his face turning pale with despair. While he was visibly dejected, I whispered to him in a way Emily couldn't hear. Listen, I will never forgive you for laying a hand on Emily. Don't you dare show your face to Emily and me ever again. Yes, sir. Leaving a diminished Mr. Jones behind, we left the factory. Some time later, Emily officially resigned from the piano factory and joined the company where Alex and I work. Here, Emily, this will be your station. Well, such a magnificent piano. All the attachments to the prosthetic hand for playing music are in place. Emily, do you think you can manage? Of course. Thank you so much for preparing such a wonderful place for me, Alex and Kyle. I'll do my best. Knowing Emily's situation, Alex's father, the president of Carter Music, started a new business venture for her. That venture was the company's own piano school. It focused on lessons for people with disabilities like Emily's, and she was set to teach there. Emily had started playing the piano again, and through the lessons, she had quickly mastered playing with a prosthetic hand. Emily initially played and taught songs that could be played with the right hand only but has now grown to the point of teaching advanced pieces that require both hands. After some time passed, it was finally time for Emily's pianist to butt. Yeah, I'll have some good news to share with Dad and Mom when I get home today. It's a dream come true for your family. Alex and I attended Emily's first concert as a professional pianist. Rumored as a miraculous prosthetic pianist, the public's response was immense, and today's concert tickets sold out immediately. Hey, why don't we go stay high in the dressing room first? That's a good idea. I hope Emily isn't too nervous. Urged by Alex, we headed to Emily's dressing room. Knocking and entering, we were greeted by Emily's smiling face. Kyle, Alex, I'm so glad you came. Of course. Congratulations on today, Emily. After, why don't you, Kyle, and I go out for a celebratory meal? Oh, about that, Alex. There's a staff party after the concert today. So I'm sorry, but you and Kyle should go have dinner together. That's a shame. Tough luck, Alex. Laughing at Alex's disappointment, I couldn't help but find it funny. Kyle, come here for a second. What's up, Emily? While I was still chuckling, Emily grabbed my arm and pulled me to a corner of the room. She seemed to have something on her mind. I listened attentively. Kyle, you know this is the perfect opportunity, right? Ah, opportunity for what? Kyle, you and Alex are alone today. It's the perfect chance to confess. Hut, Emily, since when did you know about? From the very beginning, Kyle. You always put others first, didn't you? I'm fine now, okay. Emily said this with a cheerful smile. Don't worry, Kyle. I think you two definitely have mutual feelings for each other. Is that so? What are you two whispering about over there? It's nothing. I blurted out suddenly, too conscious to look Alex in the eye. What's wrong? Your face is all red. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine, I managed to respond. Emily watched our exchange with a beaming smile, clearly amused by the situation. On this day, as Emily's dream came true, it seemed my role as her steadfast supporter might have come to an end. As for what happens next between Alex and me, becoming much closer than ever before, well, that's a story for another time. My husband's a director at a well-known company. It's something you, a high school graduate, could never achieve in your lifetime. During a reception at a fancy restaurant, I unexpectedly ran into a classmate who insulted me for being out of place in such an establishment. She suddenly started boasting about her husband, being ignorant of who I really am. She repeatedly mocked me, calling me a loser or a failure. Well then, I guess he's getting fired tomorrow, I said. What? She responded. As I was running out of patience, I turned to her and said this. I ignored her and left the place while she stood in bewilderment. Consequently, she fell from grace, ending up in a tragic state. My name is Michael Anderson, 46 years old. I run an apparel company. I took over the company at 35, succeeding the previous president, and became the CEO. Introduced by an acquaintance, I started working at my current job right after graduating high school, and my hard work was recognized by the president. Even now, I work hard every day with my employees for the company's growth. At 25, the president introduced me to a woman whom he considered a perfect match for me. I married this woman, Emily, who was an employee at the same company and 3 years younger than me. We were blessed with a child soon after marriage, and now I'm the father of a daughter who's a university student. Emily resigned from her job when she found out she was pregnant and became a full-time homemaker, focusing on housework and childcare. When I became the CEO, she returned to work as my secretary. Now, with Emily's help, I'm working hard as the CEO. I was living a busy yet fulfilling life, but a certain event would soon lead me to face a major dilemma. I was raised by my single mom. My mom managed to send me to high school, but pursuing college was out of reach due to financial issues, so I decided to work instead. In my sophomore year of high school, my mom fell and was hospitalized. Early in the morning, I worked on newspaper delivery. Additionally, I worked at a restaurant and a bar to earn a living. However, I couldn't afford to go on the school trip no matter how hard I worked. Hearing this, my classmate Sarah Johnson started mocking me. I heard you can't even manage to afford the school trip. Isn't that just typical of a poor single-parent family like yours? Your mom's a total failure, unable to even shell out a few $100. Her words led her friends to join in, making me the butt of their jokes. I was furious about them mocking my mom but realized arguing was pointless. I just endured in silence. Sarah was beautiful and seemed to be the daughter of a company's president, a central figure in our class. Most of the class followed her lead, so I was ridiculed by almost everyone. But even so, there was one person I could call a true friend. Sam Jackson. Sam, who talked to me when I was alone in class and even showed concern for my mom's health, was a great guy. We became friends in our sophomore year and still go out for drinks as adults. Incidentally, I got my current job at the company thanks to an introduction from Sam. If you're a friend of Sam's, you're more than welcome. Thanks to Sam, I owe a lot to where I am today. I truly can't thank him enough. One day, as I was thinking about inviting Sam for a drink, Emily, holding her smartphone, came from the adjacent secretarial office into my CEO office. Sorry? Can I leave early today? Thinking she might be feeling unwell, I asked, what was wrong? It's not me. It's Lena. She's having trouble again. She says she's too scared to move, Emily said, looking worried. I immediately told her to go and saw her off. Even after Emily left, I couldn't settle down. The truth is, I've been troubled by something for about a week now. It's about my daughter Lena's stalker. About a month ago, while the three of us were having dinner without Lena, she came home from her part-time job, her hair disheveled and face tear-streaked. When I asked what happened, she said in a small voice, "A customer tried to force me into his car." Naturally, Lena had turned him down, but he persisted. Eventually, he waited for her until she finished her duty at the restaurant, attempting to coax her into his car. Moreover, he was a man in his 50s, older than me. Naturally, Lena had turned him down, but he persisted. Eventually, he waited for her until she finished her duty at the restaurant, attempting to coax her into his car. Hearing this, both my wife and I were horrified. We immediately made her quit her job and started picking her up from university. However, that didn't put an end to it. The stalking continued, and he started showing up at her university and places where she went with friends. Feeling that I couldn't let this man go unpunished, I discussed the situation with Lena and reported it to the police. However, they informed us that they couldn't take any action since no actual harm had been done. All right then, I'll handle it myself. However, the man seemed to be very cautious and never showed up when I was watching. In short, it ended up being a waste of time. I could pick up Lena whenever she asked, but beyond that, there was nothing else I could do for her. As a parent, I felt utterly helpless. One day, while pondering what to do, the stalker approached Lena again. Lena managed to escape quickly, but out of fear, she shut herself in her room. "I'm just so scared," she said. Hearing her anguished voice, both Emily and I felt frustrated at our inability to do anything. Realizing that this couldn't continue, I asked Sam a favor for Lena's sake. After work, I immediately called Sam to a cafe near the office. "What? What's the rush? You know I'm pretty busy too, though maybe not as much as you," Sam said. "I know that, but you're the only one I can ask." I explained to Sam that Lena was frightened by the stalker and the police were of no help. "You're my last hope, Sam. Can you please find out who this stalker it is?" I pleaded with Sam. After graduating from college, Sam had set up his PI agency. Hoping that a professional could uncover the stalker's identity, I turned to Sam. Initially joking, Sam's expression changed when he heard about Lena's situation. "If it's for Lena, I've got to do it. Leave it to me. I'll find out everything as quickly as possible." Relieved by Sam's reassuring words, I explained to him about Lena's university and the nearest station. Just then, a familiar voice said, "Isn't that Sam and the poor guy?" Turning around, there stood my classmate, Sarah Johnson. Though she had aged, her beauty was unmistakable, so I recognized her instantly but pretended not to. "Miss Johnson." "Hey, don't call me by my maiden name. I'm now Sarah Pendragon. It's an uncommon family name, isn't it?" "Pendragon? That's quite uncommon. I think I only know one person with it," I responded casually. Sarah looked back and forth between me and Sam and sneered, "You two still make such a bland duo. You fit better in a diner than this stylish cafe. It's out of place for you. Why don't you move to another shop?" She mocked us. Even after so many years, her fundamental character hadn't changed, I thought. We're having an important conversation. If you have no business with us, could you please leave? Sam blared sharply at Sarah, who turned red with anger and left, returning to a young man who seemed to be her companion. After that, Sam and I discussed Lena's situation in detail before leaving the cafe. A week later, Sam told me he had something to discuss, so we met again at the cafe. I want you to look at this. The moment I saw the document Sam handed me, I was so shocked my eyes nearly popped out. I can't believe such a coincidence, I said. I was surprised too, Sam replied. Not just me, but everyone else seemed surprised as well. But with this much evidence, we can act. Let's get moving. Just as I was about to say something, Sam said, "Can you give me just 2 or 3 more days?" He wanted me to wait before taking action. Thinking of Lena, I honestly wanted to end this as soon as possible. Even now, Lena is struggling to leave the house, and I've been forcing her to go to university just to catch the perpetrator. But there might be a reason why Sam is asking this. With that thought, I reluctantly nodded in agreement. The next day, after learning the shocking truth, I went to a high-end restaurant for a business dinner. As I stood up to go to the restroom, there she was again, Sarah Johnson, exclaiming, "What is a poor guy like you doing in a place like this?" Even more out of place than at the cafe. While thinking how unlucky I was to run into her, I told her I was here for work. To which she replied, "For work? That's a lie. There's no way a high school grad from the bottom can have a decent job. You must be working in some insignificant factory, right?" She mocked me without even knowing my job, just making assumptions. "Actually, I happen to be a CEO," I retorted, angered by her condescension. "A high school graduate as a CEO. Even if it's true, it must be some tiny company with 1 or 2 employees. That's not a real company," she scoffed. Still, Sarah didn't stop mocking me. Growing increasingly annoyed, I was about to dismiss her when she suddenly started boasting. "My husband is a director at a well-known company. That's something you, a high school graduate, could never achieve in your lifetime." She proudly spoke of her husband, the sales director at a well-known apparel brand. Comparing her husband to me, she kept calling me a loser and a failure, continuously mocking me. I was running out of patience. "Well then, I guess he's getting fired tomorrow," I said. After that, I left a bewildered Sarah Johnson behind and walked away. After finishing the dinner successfully, I returned home. I arrived home before 9 o'clock, but the kids had already gone to their rooms, leaving only Emily in the living room. "Welcome back. You must be tired after being out so late. Did the dinner go well?" Emily's caring words prompted me to ask about Lena. Her face clouded over in an instant. "It seems it didn't work out. She cried today, wanting to quit university," she said. "I see. Don't worry, her agony will all end tomorrow," I assured her. My words made Emily look puzzled. I then told her, actually, and proceeded to share my plan with her. I hadn't told Emily about consulting Sam about Lena, so she was surprised. "I was wondering why you, usually so kind, were forcing Lena to go to school. But now I understand. I wish you had told me. I could have helped," she said, relieved to hear my plan. Emily agreed. I hadn't disclosed it to her until now as I wanted to keep things confidential. "Actually, I have a favor to ask you, Emily." As soon as I made the request, Emily agreed without hesitation. "Leave it to me. I have a wide network. I'll arrange everything today," she said. After saying that, she left for the bedroom with her smartphone. As for me, I prepared for tomorrow, took a bath, and rested. The next day, I found myself engrossed in urgent work at the secretarial office. I had a specific purpose for being there. As I made good progress, the CEO's office started getting a bit noisy. "The CEO will be back soon. Please wait a little longer," I heard Emily's voice, but then a man's voice interjected. "No need to worry. I was surprised when you called yesterday to think the CEO himself has something to discuss with me and my wife." The day before, I had asked Emily to invite the sales director and his wife. I asked Emily, my secretary, to contact them. Considering Emily's wide network of contacts, she quickly succeeded in inviting them here today. When Emily left the room to prepare, the sales director and his wife were left alone in the CEO's office. Listening in, I heard the wife excitedly speculating. It might be about a promotion. Called in as a couple, maybe it's for a vice president position. If he becomes a VP, the retirement package would be something to look forward to, she said. The sales director seemed pleased as well, both unaware of what was about to happen. Chatting animatedly, I nearly laughed at their carefree conversation but composed myself and opened the door to the CEO's office. "Mr. CEO, how are you?" the sales director greeted. "Hello there, Sarah," I said. She had stood up following her husband and froze the moment she saw my face. She must have never imagined a classmate she ridiculed for being a high school graduate would turn out to be her husband's boss. As Sarah's mouth opened and closed wordlessly, I said, "Nice to see you again since yesterday." The unsuspecting sales director then asked her if she knew me. "Nope. Well, stammering, Sarah struggled to answer. "We're high school classmates," I interjected, and the sales director's face brightened. "But I must say, my memories with her are nothing but unpleasant." My sarcastic remark instantly turned the atmosphere in the room. "I see," the sales director said, and it felt like hell until Emily returned with the tea. After being mocked by his wife the other day, I declared that I would fire her husband, so I called them in today. Reacting quickly to my words, the sales director began to scold Sarah. "Did you really say that? And to mock the CEO? What were you thinking?" "But I didn't expect a high school graduate to be a CEO," Sarah tried to justify. Even when the sales director told her to apologize, she showed no sign of doing so. "I deeply apologize for my wife's grave disrespect. But to be fired over just this incident, could you please reconsider?" Desperate to keep his position, the sales director repeatedly apologized, but Sarah seemed indifferent to his apologies. "It appears your wife is not at all remorseful," I pointed out to the sales director. Sarah worded angrily, "Why should a high school dropout like you be a CEO? It's your fault for not saying it, and firing over something like this is wrongful dismissal." The sales director hardly tried to silence her, but it was too late. I decided to explain to Sarah how I became the CEO. "I joined this company right after graduating high school, and I'm the CEO where Sarah's husband is the sales director. Moreover, my best friend Sam is the nephew of the former president, and their fathers are brothers. Initially, I was hired because I was the friend of the president's nephew. Later, at the age of 30, I took over the company from the former president and became the CEO. There were doubts about whether I could lead 9,000 employees, but the sense of responsibility was greater. After 5 years of training, I took the CEO position. That's how I became the CEO." Sarah responded, "I had no idea about such a background, but to be fired for something like this." Although Sarah's face turned pale, she still didn't utter a word of apology. "It's not just for this reason that you're being fired. I'll explain the proper reasons now." After saying that, I called out to Emily to bring in a certain person from the secretarial office. As Emily signaled, Sam burst into the CEO's office with great energy. Sarah was even more surprised at Sam's entrance, and the sales director, Mr. Pendragon, looked confused. "Mr. Pendragon, you're fully aware of what's going on?" I asked, but he just shook his head. When I glanced at Sam, he placed several documents and a photo on the table. The moment Mr. Pendragon saw the photo, his face turned deathly pale. Only Sarah, sitting beside him, seemed unable to figure out the conversation. "Actually, this girl is my daughter. She's been a victim of stalking for a while, and I hired my PDI friend to investigate." "You're the stalker, aren't you?" I sharply eyed Mr. Pendragon, who started trembling and nodded slightly. "You? That's a lie, right? Maybe she misled you or something." Sarah, in disbelief, accused Lena as if she were at fault. Due to my extreme anger, I was about to lose control and utter inappropriate words. Instead, I let Sam explain the investigation results. When Sam handed me the final report, I recognized the stalker as our employee. Of course, I can recognize someone in the position of the director in the company. What I know about him is that he is a diligent and serious man at the office. That's why the report was very shocking. After Sam finished explaining to Sarah, I addressed Mr. Pendragon. "Now your dismissal is final and executory due to valid reasons. It's not just that the matter involves my daughter. The company cannot employ anyone who engages in such an immoral act. Do you understand, Mr. Pendragon?" Without a word to say, Mr. Pendragon just nodded quietly. "Of course, this matter with my daughter is a serious crime. Appropriate actions will be taken, so please understand." Thinking the incident would be reported to the police, he pleaded, "Please, anything but that." But recalling Lena's tear-streaked face, I retorted emotionally, "Do you have any idea of the depth of fear you have brought to my daughter? If you have even the slightest understanding, accept your punishment." At this time, Mr. Pendragon hung his head in defeat. I thought it was all over, but then Sarah suddenly said to her husband, "I'm divorcing a stalker like you. Get out of here right now." Just as she said this, Sarah approached me with a sly smile. "I'm sorry about everything before, but in return, I'll be your wife. Aren't you happy to have a beautiful woman like me?" Incredibly, she started making advances toward me right in front of her husband. Disgusted by Sarah's behavior, I informed her that I was already married with children. Unfazed, she began to talk nonsensically about being a second wife. As I wondered what to do, Sam suddenly burst out laughing. "What's so funny? Do you have a problem?" Sarah snapped at Sam. "You can't be talking about a second wife in front of his legal wife, right? If he cheats on her and gets divorced, he'll lose his position as CEO," Sam joked. At this, Sarah exclaimed in surprise, "What? Indeed, my wife Emily is the daughter of the former president. When I was 25, he suddenly suggested, 'Michael, if you don't have anyone in mind, would you like to meet my daughter?' I'd initially declined because I had no confidence in myself, though he insisted. However, we hit it off instantly, leading to a quick courtship and marriage. Thus, Emily is the president's daughter, making her and Sam cousins." Realizing this, Sarah turned pale, muttering, "This can't be happening. What should I do?" "I guess you were hoping to get close to me to pay off the debts you made, right? Too bad." As I sarcastically addressed Sarah, she showed a look of shock. While investigating Lena's stalker, we discovered Sarah was the wife and got a hunch something was off with her too. Sam suggested, "This smells fishy. Give me some time to look into the wife as well." The investigation revealed that Sarah had accumulated debts in the hundreds of thousands of dollars from frequenting high-end bars. Currently, the debts have been paid with her husband's money. She likely turned her attention to me for financial rescue after she divorced. Hey, debts from a high-end bar. What's that about? It's not about that now. The wife and husband started arguing in front of us. Please discuss this at home. Regarding my daughter's case, we'll consult with the professionals and contact you later. Eager to get them out of my office, I opened the door and asked them to leave. However, they just mumbled incoherently, showing no intention of leaving. "If you won't leave, I'll call the police." With my firm statement, they scattered out of the room like startled spiders. Afterward, my lawyer amicably settled Lena's stalking case with the payment of moral damages. However, I made it clear that if any further stalking occurred, we go straight to the police, no questions asked. Regarding the Pendragon couple, I heard they ended up divorcing. As for Mr. Pendragon, having been fired, he struggled to find decent employment and now juggles several part-time jobs to pay off the living expenses and the settlement debt. Meanwhile, Sarah believed she could rely on her parents after the divorce, but once they learned of the incident, they disowned her. Continuing her high-end bar visits, her debts only grew. Now she's working in a job that leverages her looks. Considering her age, it's likely going to be difficult for Sarah to lead a decent life from now on. However, as it's the result of her own actions, I do hope she manages to persevere. As for me, I continue to dedicate myself to work as usual. Lena, who had been afraid to go outside, has finally regained her spirits and started attending university with enthusiasm. She also began working part-time at a new store, and it seems she's found her calling. One day, she suddenly declared, "After I graduate from university, I'm going to work at Dad's company." I've never felt so motivated and fulfilled by a job before. The idea of working with my daughter is delightful, but there are still 2 years until she graduates. If Lena still feels the same way, then I think it would be wonderful to work together.